ahead and watch post race. Just skip to the intro. This is just while we get everyone into the lobby, get the stream sorted, whatever you might have going on. So if you are watching post race, skip a few minutes, or take this time, go get yourself a cup of tea, because we're in for a really, really good race for round 8. So, welcome viewer, it's a pleasure to have you, the lone man at the moment. So hello and welcome everyone to round number 8 for the Nemesis Racing League Season 4. You join myself, Zach Sweeney, a few miles away from Budapest and for the Hungarian Grand Prix here at the Hungaroring. It's a very, very challenging circuit. It is often tipped as Monaco without the walls. It's very tight, it's very technical, and you do rely a lot on downforce. Very similar to the Principality of Monaco, just without the walls, and instead there's quite a bit of grass in the way, but the walls aren't too far away themselves. It's a track where we've seen relative action in the past. Of course, looking back at 2019, where we had the two Toro Rossos going side by side through turn number 5, that was pretty intense. We had obviously the battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, which a shame for a lot of people saw Max Verstappen lose the lead with only 3 laps to go, because a masterclass strategy from Mercedes saw Lewis Hamilton pit with 20 laps to go for some fresh medium tyres, and then of course he managed to close the gap 20 seconds in 20 laps, and that was pretty incredible stuff. Shows why he's a 7-time champion. A big shame from Red Bull, just sort of had nothing to lose at that point. They had to stick it out, and again, apologies for any background noise, but you join us for NRL Season 4 round number 8, and here we are for short qualifying tonight, contrast to the usual full qualifying. So it's a lot more intense, and people might gamble it on the mediums tonight. Of course, with full qualifying you have Q2 exclusively to decide for the strategy. In this one you haven't got that. This is Q3 and Q2 both at the same time, so it is very much get yourself out there and see what you can do. We've got that going out on the intermediates, now changing to the softs, but it is a tactic they use in esports to change to the inters and get some grip, get some rubber laying down on the track. But we've got the first runner out there at the moment. Not entirely sure who that is. It's Mr. Woot, who we've seen put some pretty good results in the Renault recently, and he's out on the medium tyre, so the yellow stripe medium tyre. And apologies, I have the audio a little bit too loud. There we are. Right, perfect. Hungary, it's an interesting circuit. It does flow very well. It's a nice circuit. There's not much in the way of overtaking though. You've obviously got turn 1, which is a good overtaking opportunity. You've then got turn 13, the right-hander, which again, it can be done, but it is very tricky. You've then got turn number 6 and 7 there, or 7 and 8. I'm not entirely sure where. Again, it is very tricky to overtake, so it is just about staying as close as you can to the back of the car in front, and try not to let the dirty air wash you out too much, and just hope that you can stay there, because dirty air definitely really prevalent. You want to be running, I'd say, around 6, a mid front wing, and then obviously a very high rear wing to help get the car turning. But we've got Mr. Wu in the Renault now, setting up a lap on these medium tyres, going for a nice banker lap then through the final corner, and setting up drag reduction system, the DRS open to give himself that extra 20 kbh now as he hurdles towards turn 1 all the way to the left hand side. You can see a car pulling off to the right hand side there, braking just after the 100 board, down to second gear, let the car roll through, bit of a lock up to the inside front of Mr. Woot there, now through coming towards turn 2, again looking for that 50 board just after. It's a very off cambered corner, so you want to keep it as tight to that inside as you can as to minimise the understeer. Then through turn 3 and up the hill towards turn number 4 to end off sector 1. It's a pretty decent one. It goes a little bit too wide, that's 2 wheels off the curb, and that is going to be an invalidation. Very easy to do. It's going to be something we're going to see a lot of people do today that we're on board with in the Ferrari. Of course, someone who would usually be commentating alongside me, of course, left at the end of Bahrain, and has been doing pretty well in the driver's seat. Let's see how we can do today in Hungary, coming towards turn number 4 on the softs. It's a 26.6, pretty good. Turned a little bit too early though, had to make a couple of corrections now into turn 5. The caution curb on the inside, you do not want to touch that at all. Towards 6 and 7, braking at the start of that curb, big lock up though, that's going to cost him time. You want to straight line the exit as much as possible. Now towards turn 8, turn 9, just got to flick it to the right. Turn 10, pretty much flat out. And again, chucking it through turn 12 to end off sector 2. Delta Lima with a 16.3 on the mediums. That is not at all a bad time. Sam Spaniel beats that by about a second though on the soft compound tyre in the Haas with a 15.3. Pretty nice lap. Let's see what Vert can do. Not been the cleanest of laps, it must be said, in the Ferrari, but he comes through the final corner. Short shifts to 4th, runs out of energy. Toss with a 14.6, blistering pace from him so far, and Vert settling in just shy of a 14 there with a 15.0. So Toss with some really good pace out of the gate at the moment, a 14.6. That is remarkably quick, in fact. Toss, of course, being the only driver not to score a point yet this season. Don't want to jinx it just yet, but can his fortunes turn potentially today? Kachow, a very quick driver all season long, been up there fighting amongst the top. Now coming towards the penultimate corner, Purple to the middle sector, running a little bit low, in fact, on ERS. Maybe this is his outlap or potentially, I don't know, being a little bit confused there. So 15.6, so probably backed off a little bit towards the end of that lap and settling in now to P4. Missing a lot of the top guys today. Of course, we're missing Honesy and people like that, so it's going to be strange to see them, but maybe we can have a surprise winner now in their absence. Sam Spaniel now going again, but Toss still at the top. We've got on board with Stein, who is again incredibly quick in the AlphaTauri. Bit of a snaky slide though there. Purple to the middle sector, 52.5, pretty good. Now coming towards turn number 12, or I believe 13, I'm not entirely sure, it's been a while since I've been to Hungary, but through the penultimate corner nonetheless. That I think improves, or someone's improved up top. That's Ted Wardo getting himself into P4, incredibly close at the front, literally margins of seconds between the two, but that is Stein very much establishing his pace, a 13.9, 7/10 clear of Toss at the moment, and that AlphaTauri is looking remarkably quick. We've got Cornet, the other AlphaTauri, now coming on his outlap. Apologies for the background noise. But yeah, Cornet in the other AlphaTauri. Both AlphaTauris are incredibly strong, especially Stein, a couple of race wins this season, and in, you know, in extremely good shape. Really taking it to the front, guys, consistently. We'll have to see what his teammate can do. But it's definitely no mean slouch, is Cornet. We've seen him before do some remarkable stuff, so who knows? We'll have to wait and see, and maybe it could be an AlphaTauri fight. Last time AlphaTauri were in Hungary, it was as the Toro Rossos. Actually, no, it wasn't. I stand corrected. They did have a race in 2020. It was when Max went from P7 to P3. But when they were Toro Rosso, they had a nice little ding-dong battle, did the AlphaTauri. So back in 2019, can they replicate it? Here's Cornet now starting his lap all the way to the left-hand side. DRS open. Not quite reaching 200 miles an hour, maybe just as he breached the braking zone. You can see 200 miles an hour, but straight line speed is not at all their priority. He goes through turn 1, DRS again on the run towards turn 2. Arguably that kink is turn 2. We'll count it as otherwise. This is turn 2, hugging it all the way close to the apex there, all the way around, as is to avoid the off cam, and then through turn 3, completely flat right-hander up the hill to end off sector 1. Pretty decent. 26.4 goes a little bit too wide though, a bit shaky. All that is a big off, and that is in the wall potentially. Yes, it is. How is he still in this qualifying session? I do not know. That was a huge shunt from the AlphaTauri there of Cornet, and he is going to be counting his lucky stars to still be in this. Atom Kev though up into provisional pole, a 13.7 from the Mercedes driver, absolutely blistering pace, and the first man to really contest Stein. Jurdy up into P3 as well, a 14.5, incredibly close amongst the midfield. Delta Lima now on an outlap as well. Stuart Little in the McLaren, pulling his way into the pit lane after 2 laps on the mediums. Go on board with Will Ann, who might want to follow. That's Cornet retiring from the session, so potentially was an intentional thing maybe from him to do so. And I believe I'm going to be corrected in the comments by that. Yeah, I'm going to guess that was an intentional thing. He wants to start at the back, give himself a bit of a challenge, because why the heck not? That is an incredibly quick lap from Atom Kev. We've got Cool Guy in the Williams, not someone I've actually seen much of. He's now approaching sector 1. That's a pretty competent time, actually. A 26.6, goes a little bit wide, actually nails the exit of turn 4 pretty nicely there. Through turn 5, really hooks that up well. You can see carrying as much momentum as he can towards 6 and 7. Rides that curb, a little bit shaky though. Doesn't quite hit the inside apex of 7 as he darts towards 8. Literally lift, downshift, and just carry the speed. Use the throttle to turn the car, shift the weight of the car now through turn 10 into 11. doesn't even have to downshift, just lift off a little bit. 53.4 to the middle sector, not bad at all towards turn 12. Braking nicely at the start of that curb, and this is looking really good for the Williams as he approaches the penultimate corner, rolling in third gear. He really controls that car well, keeping the ballast in check. The weight isn't flying around a lot, so he's keeping the front nose and the car stability in check, and that's going to be a 14.8. That's well into the top 5. So a nice showing from the Williams there. Tom Prof into the top 4, another 14.5. So incredibly close between these guys. Jerdy, Tom and Toss all within a tenth of a second of each other. So very, very close, and it's looking good. Thank you for everyone joining the stream at the moment. This is, you join us halfway through qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix. We've got Will Ans, a driver who often shines when he can hook the lap up, and has definitely had some good spells this season. Let's see if he can do so in Hungary and maybe swap the fortune of Max back in 2019. But he's going to be starting his lap. Is he potentially? No, he doesn't improve on that one. So is he going to go for another one? Not a lot of ERS in the bank, but he still might be able to go for it. Coming towards turn 1, third gear, roll the car through, and is he going for a lap? I'm not entirely sure. In fact, it doesn't seem like he's going remarkably quick, pushing on a lap, but he is going for it. Hugging at turn 2 very nicely. Late enough apex to get a straight enough exit, but doesn't wash out too much in the middle of the corner, so really hooks that up nicely. What's he going to do to the first sector? 2 tenths down though from the Red Bull. Goes again a little bit too wide. That could be his downfall. Maybe that's why he hasn't put in a competitive lap time at the moment. So Stein and Amkev both now heading out on some fresh soft compound tyre. No one interested in the gambling still on the medium, so everyone in the top 10 on the softs. But we've got Stein now setting up for the lap. Currently sits around about a tenth and a bit off provisional pole. He's going to be gunning for it. He's got around 14 corners to try and prove that he can do it. DRS open then, and we'll ride on board with Stein for a lap of the Hungaroring. Again, all the way to the left-hand side. Want to be looking for the 100 board just after braking, just before the 50. Big lock-up though, but he manages to keep the momentum rolling, roll it through the brakes. 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, DRS open towards turn 2. Use the curb to open up the angle of the corner. Really hug that inside, clip a late enough apex to straight line it, flat through turn 3, completely committed, and this is where it is balls to the wall. Little bit of a lift and then a downshift, a tenth and a bit up through sector 1, but runs a little bit too wide, carries that little bit too much speed, and that is going to be him invalidated, and that's going to be a common theme we've been seeing all qualifying session long. We'll go on board with that. Kevin Stev as he comes towards the end of sector 1, a little bit down, cuts it through turn 4 towards 5, manages to keep it within the track. 4th gear, roll it through, touches that curb, a bit of a love kiss, and then towards turn 6 and 7, hooks that up really nicely, straight lines the exit well enough, uses the curb through turn 8 to chuck it in 5th gear, again unsettling the car a little bit though, so might have lost a little bit of time because of this. Towards turn into 11, still giving it everything. Has he improved to the middle sector? Yes, he has, around about a tenth and a bit up towards turn number 12 and then 13. This is looking like a good lap for Atom to extend his lead at the front. Hug that penultimate corner all the way around, really open up the steering and then bring it over to the left hand side for the final corner. A long right hander, you have to keep it rolling, runs out of energy and across the line. What's it going to be? So 13.6 goes even quicker, and Atom Kev really securing himself well in this qualifying session so far. With Stein not managing to hook up the lap, went a little bit quicker to the first sector and was looking pretty good, so he's going to wait for his final chance and he needs to give it everything. But Atom Kev at the moment looking really, really comfortable, as well as Tom Prov, who's on an outlap. And Will Ans in P12 looks as though he's managed to get himself at least a half decent lap in for the time being. In fact, we'll check what's going on down there. We'll go on board with Ted Wardo, who at the moment is on a lap through turn 3. Currently sits P13 in the racing point. Is he going to improve to the first sector? Yes, he is. Quite a big improvement, in fact, quite a sizable improvement. 2.5 tenths in the racing point. Not at all bad. That at the moment we'll see him up towards P11, and if he can prove elsewhere in the lap, that could see him well established into the top 10 as he goes through turn 8 and towards this tight infield section of turn 8, 9. Again, really keeping it well. You do not want to unsettle. Don't want to brake suddenly. Don't want to lift suddenly, because that really shifts the weight very, very unpredictably. Now rounding off sector 2, nearly 4 tenths up, and at the moment this is going to be a pretty good lap. definitely secure for P11 if he can hook the rest of this lap up. The final 2 corners, big lock up through the penultimate corner for the Racing Point, as the Red Bull now pulling over very nicely. Gonna lock up into the final corner, but hooks it up. Has he improved to the final sector? Run to the line. What's it going to be for Ted Wardo? It's going to be P9. That was a pretty good improvement there from the Racing Point, and knocks Vert out of the top 10 as we look to Vert, and he's had a bit of an off going into the pit lane there at the final corner. A bit of a shame. Hopefully he can recover himself. Mark of Kenya still unable to put a lap in. It's going to be full pressure for him at the moment, because he's going to need to get a lap in right at the death of it. But we've seen Mark of Kenya do remarkable stuff. Could put it on the front row maybe. He's just he's making a show out of it. That's exactly what he's doing. This is Yerdy on a lap in the Williams. Was P3 before Tom Go Prof put that lap in. He now heads towards turn 1. So very, very close between these two for the second row. A little bit of a gap back to Toss, but Toss looking really strong around Hungary in P5. Don't want to jinx anything. Yerdy doesn't improve to the middle sector, unfortunately. But with 3 minutes left to go, he's going to want to get it at least a little bit of an improvement done. Only, I mean, a half a tenth improvement to this final sector could help. He's going to pull into the pit lane just to have enough time to go again. Here's Tom Go Prov. Doesn't look like he's on much of a lap. But Atom Kev heading out now for his final one. Can he improve even more? If he does, I'm going to be incredibly shocked. But I mean, he might well be able to, and that's going to be pretty good. And when is Stein going to react and head his way out as well? Very, very close. 3/10 between first and second, but we've seen Stein have some potential maybe to go even quicker. That's a Mercedes heading out on some medium tyres. That is exotic. Heading out on the medium tyres. Could he get himself into the top 10? It's going to be a 15 dead if he wants to do so. Could be done. And now Stein heading out on his outlap as well. What can Atom Kev do? 2 minutes left to go. We're at the death of this qualifying session. He's heading out. Is that 2 lap old soft tyres? That is 2 lap old soft tyres for Atom Kev. Has he put the wrong tyres on? His best lap at the moment is on 1 lap old softs, but he's put on some old tyres. That's not going to help him in his bid for pole position. And that could be somewhere that Stein maybe gets a bit of an advantage on him. But coming towards turn 1 for his final lap, maybe just wants to get some track time in, whatever it might be. But coming towards turn at number 2, breaking down the gears, third gear, hug it really tight. That was taken pretty much to perfection, pinpoint precision from the Mercedes there as he heads up the hill to round off sector 1. Is it an improvement? It was a really good sector 1 before. 4/10 down to the first sector. These old tyres are not helping him one bit. Although it looks tidy, it isn't quick. So Stein could be in a good chance here. He's on fresh tyres and he's ready to go. Just needs to make sure he hooks this lap up, because Atom Kev doesn't look very good at the moment. 1 minute left in this qualifying session. And it's still so tight for pole. We've got Toss, Kachow and Yerdy all out on an outlap as well. Here's Stein for his final lap. Hooking it up really nicely. Getting a good launch now. DRS open. That extra 20 kph. Drag is going to be extremely reduced as he hurdles his way towards turn 1. Pretty short start finish straight, looking for the 100 board just before the start of that curb. Then third gear, roll it through. Stuart Little has retired. DRS open on the run towards turn 2. Shortest run as you can, straight line it, and then use the curb to open up the angle of the corner. Hug this so tight, like your favorite grandma, just to avoid that off camberness. Fifth gear, flat through turn number 3. Use the curb on the exit to try and open it up. Has he improved to the first sector? Indeed he has, a little bit up. Chucks it through, keeps it on the track this time as he comes towards turn number 5. Just got to hug that again really tight, as close as you can without actually touching the curb. Looking for the start of this curb, down to 4th gear, and then hold it and straight line the exit as much as you can. Use all the track that you possibly can through turn 8 and then into 9. Just again want to chuck the car in, make sure that front end is turned in. Atom Kev doesn't improve on his lap time, so if Stein can improve by about 3/10, let's see what he does. He is purple to the middle sector. This could be good for Stein if he could get himself on pole position. Track position is going to be everything here at the Hungaroring. Coming towards the penultimate corner, want to go go to third gear and then hold it tight. He goes a little bit too deep, but does a nice diamond, brings it back for a nice late apex, and then fourth gear, hug it tight through this final corner. Fifth gear, he's using every little bit of energy that he can. DRS the line. Is it going to be pole position? Yes, it is. An amazing lap. A 13.3 takes pole by around about 2.5 tenths. Stein, incredible lap there. And now we're waiting for Jerdy, Toss and Kachow to round off, maybe for a second row position. Half a tenth up for Jerdy. This is looking good. Maybe he can get himself into the top 3 and knock Tom Go Prof off. Toss, what's he done? It doesn't look like he's going to be up. We'll see it as he crosses the sector line. He's found a little bit more time to that middle sector. Can Jerdy get himself into P3 across the line? Is it going to be P3? Yes, it is. Just though. And Kachow knocks Toss off or knocks him out of the top 5. Can Toss maybe find a little bit of an improvement? Only needs half a tenth across the line. Is it going to be it? Yes, it is. Up into the top 5 again. What an incredible qualifying session. And that was a very, very tight fight for pole there. Doesn't look like Atom managed to get that final lap in, unfortunately. So it is going to be Stein that takes pole position, 2.5 tenths clear of Atom Kev, and a second back is Jerdy. So two tyrants of Stein and Atom there, completely in the league of their own. Tom Go Prof in P4 with Toff, his highest qualifying position of this season, I believe, in P5. Kachow P6, Cool Guy in P7, Delta Lima in P8, Ted Wardo P9, and Van Rocco rounding off the top 10. Vert on the cusp in P11 could be one to look out for in the midfield. Sam Spaniel P12, Will in P13, Mr. Wu in P14, Stuart Lill in P15, Exotic in P16, Mark of Kenya and Cornet both not being able to set a lap time. It's looking good for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got a little bit of time, so go get yourself a drink, go get yourself some popcorn, because Atom and Stein, they're going to be at each other's throats for the next 30 laps or so. Shaping up to be an absolute banger of a race. I cannot wait to talk you guys through it. I believe around about 36 laps of this circuit for a 50% race. I'm not entirely sure. I do believe so. But again, not 100% sure. Waiting for everyone to ready up, but yeah, if you're only just joining us, this is what it's all about. That was a very tight qualifying session. Pole decided by the final run, and that is what we like to see at a track where track position is everything. Quite difficult to overtake is possible though. So Stein and Atom Kev both going to be giving it everything they can to take the win for round number 8 here at the Hungaroring. We're heading towards the final sort of edge of the season now, so every point matters, and every little tiny indent you can make in a lead, it's going to mean everything. Of course, myself, I've missed the last couple of rounds, unfortunately, due to whatever it might have been, but yeah, glad to be back. Not entirely sure on the standings because they've only posted up until round 6, which is a little bit annoying. But up to round 6, with Honesy not racing, if Kachow can score some decent points, he could take the lead of the championship, which could be pretty interesting. Here we go. This is the formation lap. This is where it is so crucial for these guys to get their tyres warmed up and what have you. 35 laps, so I was close in terms of the lap counter. So there is Stein, Atom, Jurdy, Tom, Toss, Kachow, Cool Guy, Lima, Ted Water and Van Rocco are your top 10. At the moment they're going to be the ones taking home the points, but it's lap 0 with 35. We've got a long way to go. And have those outside the top 10. They've all gone for the harder compound of tyre, whether that be the extreme hard or the medium. Sam Spaniel and Exotic going for the medium tyre, so they're going to go around about maybe 17, 18, 19 laps into this race and then pit for some hards. Predicted pit stop strategy is a 2-stop, soft, medium, medium, or soft, medium, hard. Could go either way, or could they stretch these tyres and go for a 1-stop? Could be possible, and they're going to have to be very kind on those tyres. No lockups, no mistakes if they want to do so. It's going to be tricky. But you can see Stein with a commanding lead. Atom Kev is really backing the field up. In fact, underfueled his car to have a lighter chassis to attack Stein with. So that car is going to be able to dart through the corners a little bit more agilely. Agilely? Is that even a word? It's going to be more agile, is that chassis being lighter, and he's saving up a little bit of fuel. Actually, that fuel light's gone. So not quite sure what's happened there, but Stein now lining himself up on the grid. Ahead of 5 red lights. Kev aligning in alongside him. Got a long wait for Cornet and Mark of Kenya on the back, as well as Stuart Little we're waiting for as well. Yeah, you go though. It's going to be very, very tight run towards turn 1. Pretty long run in comparison to some other tracks, but not the longest. Do start quite far back. Waiting for that green flag. Then we go to 5 red lights. Here in Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix, round number 8. The cars are revving up. We're getting ready to go underway and racing. Stein and is underway and racing. It's a really good start from the Mercedes in P2. Atom Kev already pulling alongside Stein, coming towards turn 1. You can see Toss in the racing point looking all over in everyone's mirrors. There's a Red Bull down the inside. Kachow looking for the inside, but there's Atom Kev. He goes a little bit too deep into turn 1, so the Red Bull's going to get up the inside maybe of Stein now towards turn 1. Tom up into P2 and Stein with an absolutely abysmal start then as they head towards turn 3. Maybe even under pressure from Jurdy in the Williams, and into turn 3 he's going to be able to just about hang on to this, but Jurdy is not letting off at all. He's going to be looking all over to try and get in front. Goes a little bit too wide through turn number 4 though, and that is going to cost him as they go through turn 5. He's looking and he's got Kachow and Cool Guy both in his mirrors. But an incredible start from Atom Kev. A little bit of a timing glitch. I couldn't quite see what was going on to pinpoint precision, but a great start from Tom to get himself up into P2. Cool Guy and Kachow trying to follow their way through. Toss with a decent start, down 2 positions, but still kept his nose clean. He's in P7 looking to score some points, and so far so good. A tidy first lap. There's Cornet making up some moves. There he goes down the inside of Van Rocco and looking for his teammate of Stuart Little in the other McLaren. As we round off lap number 1, it's Atom Kev from Tom from Stein as they still go bumper to bumper. But Atom Kev so far with a perfect start. Stein falling back a couple of places unfortunately. And the Williams of Jurdy looking down the inside of Stein. Maybe he is going to go for a desperate lunge up the inside. Stein gives him the spaces to protect his own race. There's yellow flags through sector 1. Not entirely sure what's happened here. Has there been a bit of contact? Yes, there has. That is Kachow off and spun round at turn 1. Not entirely sure what's happened there. That is a big shame though. Maybe Cool Guy maybe went for a bit of a desperate lunge, whatever it might have been. Not to point the blame, but that is something that maybe could have happened. There's a fight potentially going at the front, or is it just Cody's glitching the game? And as always, I believe it is Cody just glitching the game as always, unfortunately. Hopefully they can be sorted out for F1 2021 in a few weeks' time. Still, so far it's Atom Kev from Tom, Stein and Jurdy, with Cool Guy rounding off the top 5. 2 Williams in the top 5, so good result for them at the moment. And still the top 3 very, very close as we look to round off lap number 2. There's Exotic all over the back of Mark of Kenya, trying to get a good launch off turn 11 towards 12, but doesn't look like he's close enough on this occasion to get the move done. We'll cut back to the front because it's looking very, very close. And lap 3 is when we're going to get the DRS enabled, that drag reduction system to aid the overtaking. That graphic is lying to you. Atom Kev with the fastest lap, an 18.4, so still setting some really good pace. It's down to Tom and Stein to stay with them. They are going to get DRS towards turn 2, so that's going to aid them a little bit. No, they're not actually. The graphic once again lying to me, which is a shame. So it's down to Tom to stay in the DRS range, coming on to the pit straight. That up into the top 10 after Kachow's spin, and he's breathing down Will's neck, who's up 4 places. A great start, as well as Cornet up 6 places. As they head towards turn number 4, Stuart Little goes in a little bit too deep, goes a little bit wide, as well as Cornet going a little bit off the track. And he's going to be looking to set himself up to get his way through and maybe into the top 10, but he's playing the patient game. He's not making any rash judgments whatsoever, is Cornet. He's very calm, he's very collected, he's composed. He wants to get this done cleanly and by the book and not damage his own front wing in the process. Atom now out of that crucial 1 second range, so this is going to aid Stein in getting through. He needs to get through pretty soon, and Tom doesn't want to fight him too harshly in case they do want to go and catch Atom, because any fighting is just going to allow the Mercedes to stretch his legs a little bit and get in front. So DRS now enabled. He's pushed the overtake button to get that extra 160 brake horsepower on top of the DRS. He's closing. Tom goes defensive, but is it all in vain? The AlphaTauri to the outside, the Red Bull on the inside, down the inside he goes in a little bit too deep, but the AlphaTauri goes even deeper around the outside, and they're still going to be side by side. It'll be the inside for turn number 2, and Tom still on the outside, just going to have to concede. A nice move from Stein, and it's now head down, crunch time to try and get back at the Mercedes. And the Red Bull, his best interest is probably just going to be to stick behind, save some ERS, because he's burnt through quite a lot in that little skirmish. He's not managed to come out on top in this particular occasion. Jurdy, the first in the field to get a penalty, 3 seconds as he extends turn 4 a little bit too wide, which is a shame. Stuart Little vert, and Cornet's fallen off a little bit onto this battle as well. He's fallen into the clutches of Van Rocco, and his hard work being undone a little bit. Stuart Little going in a tiny bit too deep then and picking up some grass as he exits turn number 7. And Cornet falling susceptible to the soft tyres of Van Rocco. He's looking to get himself back up the inside though and try and chase after. Cornet incredibly quick and playing the patient game. He's tucked right in the slipstream. He's going to pull to the inside, brake late for turn number 12, but around the outside goes the McLaren. Very, very close racing. Couldn't fit a sheet of paper between the two. Still side by side. Around the outside goes Cornet, and it'll be the inside for the final corner, but he's going to claim the racing line, and into the pit lane goes the McLaren for a fresh set of tyres, maybe even a new front wing if he sustains some damage. But it's now all on Cornet to close this gap. Invert closing on Will, not quite close enough for a move towards turn 1. Sam Spaniel gets himself into P17 with Van Rocco going onto the medium tyres. Very early stop. Maybe these softs don't live very long, potentially. That could be a factor. Stuart Little in P11. Cornet not with incredible pace then, it seems. He's only managed to get himself up to P12, and despite this battling up in front, can't quite close the gap. Vert goes a little bit too deep, so that's going to allow Stuart to go to the outside, but a little bit of contact, couldn't quite read what the Ferrari was going to do, so he's well off the track and is going to rejoin nice and safely. Exotic could get him here down the inside of turn number 6. Yes, he is. There's little flags through sector 2, still going to fight it. Stuart, a little bit of contact to the side pod of the McLaren there from the Mercedes. But Stuart Little going to hang on to P12 for the time being. Very close racing so far from the midfield then. And Stein, crucially, inside 1 second, so really pushing to get onto the back of Atom, who has in fact underfueled. I was correct. Has Stein got DRS though? That is the question. Was it enough into the detection point? No, it wasn't. But at least he doesn't have the pressure from behind. Cool guy, the first Williams to come into the pit lane. Jurdy on the back of Tongo Prof. So looks as though the field spread is now starting to settle in onto lap 6. A sixth of the way through the Grand Prix. But Stein needs to get his head down. He needs to get himself well established into that DRS zone. The virtual, the metaphorical toe hook latching onto the back of those guys in front. As Cornet has done exactly that. He's managed to get himself nicely into the DRS range of Vert and Will after a little bit of a skirmish. And that's going to allow him to close up and get himself well into the points paying positions. Tombo Prof with the 3 second penalty, pushing that a little bit too hard to close the gap to Stein and keep Jurdy at bay. Jurdy closing onto the Red Bull. Tombo Prof with a great start, but isn't managing to keep that momentum, keep that pace up throughout this first stint. The yellow flag switched through sector 2. It looks as though someone that is going to be Exotic got a little bit caught up on the curb through turn 5. Maybe that's going to be my guess, and that is going to be my guess correctly. Exotic getting a little bit caught up, and his rear tyres are not going to be liking that too much. Stein managed to get himself into the 1 second range, but Atom is incredibly quick in this final sector. Stein's done enough though. There's the detection point, and he's inside 1 second, so this is now getting interesting between the two race leaders. And that is Shirley a lap later than his teammate into the pit lane, getting rid of these disgusting soft tyres that have already worn off, and that is tossed into the top 4 as well. Stein needs to work a little bit harder to stay in the DRS range. Atom Kev is not letting him have it for free. That is for sure. He wants this position, he wants this win. Now we're 5th of the way through the race, lap 7 to 35. And still a battle between the midfield. Cornet has managed to get himself through on Vert, and Stuart Little, who went off a few laps ago, now closing it right onto the back of these guys once more. Cornet is going to look to try and do the work that Vert couldn't do and get himself past Will. Now I'm spreading his legs a little bit, maybe using a little bit of tyre that he's managed to save up. Yellow flags through sector 1. That looks as though Exotic has gone for another spin through turn 2. Exotic really not having his day today here in Hungary. Cornet closing on the Red Bull main team car in the AlphaTauri. Looks like these hard tyres are finally starting to work for him as we reach that crossover point between the hards and the softs. Stein into the DRS, so sector 2 and 3 definitely Stein strong points, but sector 1 goes to Atom. And he is definitely close. Stein incredibly close, nearly 6/10 as we go through the final corner, and that is really going to help him stay within the DRS range. Tom and Toss both into the pit lane, going for the proactive undercut. And what can Cornet do? What can Will do? Maybe get himself past Ted Wardo. Potentially it could be something. And what tyres are these guys going on to? It looks as though the soft runners are going on to the hards to the end. Potentially, we'll have to wait and see. 7/10 between the leaders. And Stein pushing very hard to stay within. These lockups are not going to be helping these hard tyres very much, that is for sure. Very much skating the tyres, and if flat spots were a thing on the F1 games, they definitely would be feeling a lot of vibrations at the moment as Vert picks himself up. 3 second time penalty through turn at number 4. Bumper to bumper to bumper for these guys on the hard tyres at the moment. That is Stuart Little trying to go around the outside of Vert, but not going to work. Vert is always going to take the race in line there. Smashing to keep it clean. Cornet wants to get through on Will as soon as he possibly can. Goes a little bit wide. That could be maybe a warning infringement coming as well his way as Will tries to get past Ted Wardo, who's still on the soft tyres, really stretching these long, as well as the two leaders who are now piling their way into the pit lane, going very long on those softs as Ted Wardo peels his way into the pit lane as well. So Will, Cornet and Vert all going to be in the top 3 provisionally, not of course finalised. Maybe who knows, maybe come the checkered flag they will be. But Cornet closing on Will. To the inside he goes in the AlphaTauri. This is a move he's been wanting to do for a few laps now. Down the inside he goes. And Vert's going to be wanting to maybe get in on the action as well. Will maybe going for the counter-attack. Or does he know that Cornet's quicker? And Cornet now into the provisional race lead and ahead of the hard runner, the main hard runners. So Atom Kev on the hards. And Stein's lost a bit of time to him in the pit lane. Maybe got held potentially. Or something's happened, but he's lost a lot of ground to Atom Kev, and he's going to have to make that up. So lost the ground to Sam Spaniel and Cool Guy, which is definitely less than ideal. Cool Guy trying to set up the move, get the cut back, get the straight exit, but can't quite get past Sam Spaniel at the moment, and he's being held up. And if he can just get past, he might be able to maybe go for the move on Atom Kev and hold him up, maybe for Stein to have a little look. As Cornet has really stretched his legs at the front. Here comes Cool Guy down the inside of turn 12, gets it stopped, but around the outside goes Sam Spaniel in a completely different race to these guys. Now Stein trying to get involved as well. This is a crucial move. Cool Guy still around the outside. Sam Spaniel really fighting this to the death. even though he's a pit stop behind on these guys, going for a cutback, but Cool Guy's managed to get his way through, and he's now under pressure from Stein, who needs to get his way through. In DRS, you can see he's going to be using all of his ERS to try and get his way through, but Sam Spaniel has got the DRS, he's closing, he's going for the counter-attack again, goes to the inside of Cool Guy despite having some damage, and Stein doesn't really know where to go. Cool Guy trying to get his way through. Here comes Sam Spaniel back at him on the outside of turn number 2. There's a Red Bull of Tomgo Prof now putting the AlphaTauri under pressure, and it's a 4-car train, 5-car train as Jerdy rounds off at the back. And it's all kicking off because Sam Spaniel is not letting the Williams breathe. We're going to run to the outside of turn number 4. Surely not. And he goes very, very wide. Hurt his own race there. And Stein cleanly through. So is... actually, Tomgo Prof didn't get through. So very nice opportunistic move from Stein to get his way through there. And he's now going to be all over the back of Cool Guy. 3 seconds back to Atomkev though. So they're going to need to get their head downs, these guys. And try and close the gap once again. Stein, he's really a master at saving that ERS, as is Atom Kev. Both really conserving their energy well. Every time they brake, not using the overtake too much, really waiting for those key crucial moves where they can get that good exit and get the run. And this is going to be a good move for Stein to make if he can get through, because they're going to want to make some indents on Atom Kev as soon as they can, because I don't know what it was. Atom Kev now setting a purple final sector, an attribute you would usually give to Stein so far in this race, but it looks as though Atomkev has finally found his feet, and these hard tyres are really working well for him. Still, for those who haven't picked, these hard runners, these top 6, the provisional top 6, you've got Cornet, Will, Vert, Stewart, Mr. Woot and Mark of Kenya all fighting, especially between Vert and Will. And Stuart Little, who did go off a few laps ago, now managed to close up again. There is a spinner, that is Delta Lima off at turn number 2, managed to rejoin relatively well and not retire, so that is always good to see. But he's going to be at dead last place, plumb last, which is something you don't like to see. Well, at least if your name is Delta Lima, I'm sure his rivals would love to see him down in last place, but nonetheless, this is the fight for a net P8 as everyone comes into the pit lane. It'll be a P3 fight, as Cool Guys on those mediums will have to pit again though. Going for that aggressive 2-stop strategy, it could work out for him. Finds himself a net P2 as it stands. And Vert, Will and Stuart all going to be fighting. It's a good exit from Vert. Not quite good enough to put the attack on, and makes Will look to the inside, but again, not enough to make him flinch too much. So Vert not quite on this occasion going to be able to get his way through, maybe on the run towards turn 2. Doesn't quite get in a good enough exit. The McLaren though with an incredible exit and really pushing the Ferrari through, saying come on, get a move on, because if you don't get through, I'm going to go for a move on you. And that is the nature of pack racing. If you're in P3, it's always worth sitting behind P2 to try and maybe use them to get your way through, but if they're not getting a shift on, you're going to want to get yourself through pretty quick as to not hold yourself up, because Mr. Woot has now joined the fight, and I'm sure Atomkev is going to be rounding the back of this pretty soon as well. As he's managed to clear Mark of Kenya, and on an absolute mission is Atomkev in the number 19 Mercedes, absolutely flying. Didn't quite manage to get pole, and that is mainly perhaps down to the fact that he couldn't get that final run in, didn't have a fresh set to use. So Stein managed to snatch it, but so far in this race, Atomkev has been the one to watch. Took the lead of the race at lap 1 and hasn't lost it since. The fastest lap is 17.8 now, as his car gets that little bit lighter as time goes on. Stein has in fact managed to clear Cool Guy. Didn't quite catch that unfortunately, but he's managed to get his way through. There's yellow flags through sector 1. Who is that off? No way. That is Atomkev off. Oh my goodness me. What has happened to Atomkev? He's got damage to the front wing end plate, that front right end plate, and potentially even the front left. And that has now promoted Stein into the net lead of this race, as as Sam Spaniel and Toss are going side by side. Around the outside goes Sam Spaniel, really fighting this hardly, as he always does, but Toss is not going to let him go. He's going to close up, not to the inside of turn 4. Toss, please. He's going to send it. There's contact. There's damage to Sam Spaniel, and around the outside goes Scott, Toss, not Scott. Exotic in the background as well, the other Mercedes, and Sam Spaniel is going to live to fight another day in terms of P11. But what happened to Atomkev then? Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that, because that must have been incredible how he messed that up so badly. But that is Stein to the lead of the race. As I was saying, that Kev took the lead of the race, and that same lap that he lost the lead very miserably, but still a long way to go. 21 laps of this race remaining, so yeah, big shame. And Honesy's he's watching, and I'm sure he's sat in the stream head in his hands at the moment after making a very bold prediction merely 5 minutes ago, and that's all going to be undone for Honesy at the moment, the reigning champion. Yeah, he was driving so incredibly well. Here comes Toss though, down the inside, some incredible overspeed to get him up the inside of turn 1, goes a little bit too deep, so Sam Spaniel going to go very nicely underneath him. It's going to be the outside for turn number 2 though, we've seen him done it before. But he's going to back out of this one as Vert picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. Another one, that's going to be adding his total up to 6 seconds now for multiple warnings. So it is turn 4. I would hedge my bets that turn 4 is going to be the lethal killer, as Exotic picks himself up another one as well. Cut back to the front, we've got Stuart Little on the back of Vert, who still hasn't been able to get past Will, so they're all continuing their way through, still following each other one by one. A little bit of a conga line-esque formation. Mr. Woot as well in the background. Mark of Kenya there. 2 seconds back is Stein, and a second and a half back is Mr. Cool Guy. Stein's going to be wanting to close on to these guys. We've got Vert following Will, trying to stay in the slipstream as best he can. Stuart Little being behind Vert, who has DRS, isn't aiding his charge into the top 3 very well. These guys are yet to pit though, and that is a big slide from Vert. Got a little bit caught over the curb, just skated over, bottomed out the car, and he spun round and has picked up some damage, some very, very big damage. And Stuart Little pretty much promoted for free up into P3. And Vert, yeah, that's as good a time as any to come in. Luckily he managed to go, so otherwise that would have been a race-ending collision for Toss. But he's managed to keep it going. Exotic still on the back of Sam Spaniel. Now he's the one who's going to try and get past Kachow, who had a spin earlier in the race. We've got Exotic then on the back. Not quite into turn 4. Can't quite follow well enough in the dirty air. Vert really going backwards now. He's letting everyone through as to not get in their way. That is a big shame. He was driving incredibly well. But couldn't quite get it done. So Stuart Little now released to try and maybe have a go at Will, and if he can do it, then it must have been something on Vert's part. Exotic is still on the back of Sam. We'll cut to the front though, because we've got Stein closing the gap to Mark of Kenya, who's now back into the DRS range of these guys. Here comes Stuart Little to the inside of Will. Is the Red Bull going to go around the outside? He's going to try, but the McLaren's going to claim the racing line. Off the track goes the Red Bull in an attempt to keep it on the outside, but that was never going to work. Stuart Little up into P2, and what took Vert almost 16 laps to complete, and couldn't even complete without spinning himself, Stuart Little has managed to do in a mere couple of laps since he was unleashed. So Stuart Little definitely has some pace bottled up in that car. And now Mr. Woot's turn. He's got Will right in front of him. These hard runners looking well established into the midfield as well. We've now got Exotic, as Vert has retired from the session in the pit lane, so deciding not to complete the race. And that is Exotic once again going very deep. Atom Kev with some blistering pace as always, on an absolute mission on those medium tyres, setting some very fast laps, and who knows, he might be able to bring it back for some points. It's very unlikely, but he might be able to do it. If anyone can, it's Atom Kev that can. But the net race leader Stein in P6, closing up onto the back of these guys who are still yet to pit and probably going to go to the medium tyres. I would presume maybe even Sauce, if they can stretch it that long and have a really quick end to the race. That is a great idea, Honesy. Do not make any more further predictions. Stuart to win. That is a very bold one. But who knows? We will definitely see in around about 18 laps time, when they come around the checkered flag. Stein on the back of these guys. Cornet at the moment leading the way. 7.5 seconds clear of these guys. Absolutely incredible pace as soon as he was unleashed, and really just settled into his own rhythm. And is looking really comfortable for when he pits. Very, very close field as always between these guys in NRL though. Kev again, a 17.4, really consistent, really quick pace from the Mercedes, which just goes to show what could have potentially been. He's already onto the back of Sam Spaniel, who's finally decided to come into the pit lane, and that's going to be Kev, I'm going to guess, pretty shortly up into P16, but we're on board at the moment for this fight for at the front between 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Stein, the net race leader, closing on to the guys who are at the moment leading this race, or at the moment are the top 5. Still waiting for all of these guys to pit though. Is Stein maybe going to try and get through on Mark of Kenya? He's closing in the slipstream. He's got a little bit of overspeed. Is he going to go to the inside? He's going to look. He's going to brake as late as he can, but not quite going to be able to get up the inside of the Haas on this particular occasion. Maybe if Mark of Kenya goes for a bit of a snaky slide, he could have a little look, but Stein on this occasion just going to have to sit back and not find a way through. But he's got a lot of ERS in the bank, ready to use it at a moment's notice if he really, really wants to. But I'm going to guess for Stein, it's going to be just drive to survive. He knows he's in a good position, so doesn't want to risk it. And so far, it's been a really, really entertaining race up and down the field. Kev getting past Sam Spaniel. Cool guy with a 3-second penalty. Mark of Kenya, the first of the top 5 to pit. And Stein now unleashed to try and close the gap to Mr. Wu and Will. But Renault's still unable to get his way through. Probably partially due to a lack of ERS, energy recovery system. All very late under brakes, nearly going into the back of Will there. That was very, very close to comfort. Very much flirting with disaster there, lose 2. Stein now closing the gap. 18 laps these guys have been on these hards, yet to pit, and still going very, very long. Toss with a 3-second penalty, still driving pretty well in P9, and will be around about P maybe 6 or 5 as these guys come into the pit lane. Mr. Wu all over the back of Will now, and really, really trying to get his way into the top 3 as Stuart Little has managed to extend the gap a little bit. As Kachow is still on the back of Toss as well. This is a fight for P9 towards turn 6 and 7. Into 8 and 9. Toss hanging on really well. Does not want to bottle this one bit. Who's that off? Looks as though Ted Waters had a bit of an off, and he's managed to collect Mark of Kenya with him. Mark of Kenya, the first of the hard runners to obviously come into the pit lane, and on that outlap it's all gone to disaster for him. Unfortunately, that is going to be Mr. Woot into the pit lane, so Stein now released to try and catch after Mr. Will. And get their move into P3 done. Cornet still with some great pace. Mark of Kenya's still not been able to get himself going, so that's just gone from insult to injury for the Haas driver, who's fallen behind his teammate, and from such a good position, pitting that lap earlier, put him in the wrong pace at the wrong time, and he's not been able to do so well the last lap or so. Lap 20 of 35 though, closing into the final third of what has been a pretty action-packed race for round number 8. Stein and Will following each other through turn 6 and 7. Here's a cool guy closing onto the back of him. Tom Groproff not too far back either. Cool guy has to pit again though, remember. There's no way he's going to stretch those tyres another 15 laps. If he does, that is pretty remarkable stuff. But when will Stewart and Cornet come into the pit lane? Cornet committing to another lap. Stein all over the back. Mark of Kenya retiring from the session. That is understandable. There's Cool Guy pilling himself into the pit lane. Really attacking that pit entry. And here comes Stein. He's closing, he's closing. Can he pull to the inside? Yes, he's going to have a look. He's going to brake as late as he can. Scare the Red Bull maybe a little bit offline. Get as tight as he can, but not quite got the drive off the turn number 1 to solidify the move. He's going to have to wait a little bit more. So in a P4 net, P1 of course, but is he going to be able to hang on, because Cornet has opened up a nice gap, and on those soft tyres towards the end of the race, he's going to be lightning quick. Yellow flags again through sector 1. Who's that off? It looks as though Cool Guy has had an off the pit lane exit. What is it with these guys in outlaps? They don't seem to like outlaps very much, because it all goes very, very poorly for them off the outlaps. Coming out of the pit lane, it just seems like cold tyres get the better of them. When is Cornet going to come into the pit lane? Is it going to be this lap? No, he's staying out another lap, so really stretching these tyres long, and I'm going to guess, hedge my bets, that he goes on to the softs maybe around about 7 or so laps time. But here's Stein. He's going to be closing at a rate of knots in the slipstream, using that ERS on Will with a lot fresher tyres. Pulls to the inside, not really a race the Red Bull wants to fight, and that is Stein up into P3, probably in Will's best interest to maybe sit behind, save some ERS, because Stein was always going to come through. And now I want to charge for Stuart Little and Cornet in front, as Cornet picks himself up a 3-second time penalty, another one. Will the leaders go on to soft or medium? But Henry, I'm going to say that Cornet is going to go for softs. I reckon he's going to stretch his tyres to around about lap 27, maybe 28, just to have that little bit longer on the softs, because remember, they will be fresh soft compound tyres. So I reckon Stewart and Cornet for softs, maybe mediums if they don't feel too confident, but if they want to go for the mediums, I'd pit now just to give them that time to actually catch up the time. But 13 seconds, that's going to give them, I'd say, around about 8 seconds to catch up after the pit lane. And with what it will be 8 seconds, they're going to need a second a lap, plus getting past. It's going to be a tough ask, but Cornet could definitely be in a good shout for a good midfield position here, when he does finally decide to come into the pit lane, because himself and Stewart are both staying out a remarkably long. Cornet does have a good chance at this if he can maybe open up enough of a gap now. He needs to use those tyres while they're still alive though, and then absolutely batter the hell out of his other tyres to get himself past, and then 6 seconds clear. Of course, anything can happen. A safety car now would really spice things up, it must be said. Everyone probably would come in for mediums, I'm going to say. If a safety car did come out, so if these two Red Bulls want to crash into each other and spice the race up a little bit, that would be great. Jokes aside, it would be nice to see a safety car. But Kev on an absolute mission, already closing up to Exotic. Will those mediums go to the end of the race though? That is a question. Cool Guy with 3-second time penalty after a spin after he left the pit lane. That's going to exceed his total up to around about 6 seconds. Delta Lima with another spinneroonie. And down into P14. So Exotic up to P13. Keeping it clean. We've got the two Red Bulls closing onto each other. Tom Go Prof looking to get past his teammate Will, who just seems to be a magnet for getting past at the moment. Either people can't get past him or they get past him very quickly. It's no in between. But Tom definitely the Red Bull with more pace. It's a good launch with a big shake coming off turn 1 there, looking to the outside of his teammate, but Will parking his car nicely in the middle of the track as to keep him at bay. That is Van Rocco into the pit lane for some medium tyres to the end of the race. And he's going to be falling back down the order. Is Adam Kev going to get him? Yes, he is. We have got Exotic on the back of Ted Wardo for P number 11. 2.5 seconds back on Cool Guy for the final points fan position. Tongo Prof still can't get his way past his teammate. Still 6 cents back, and Cornet with a 12-second lead now, still running at the same pace sort of Stein is, and despite being on 10 lap older tyres, that is pretty remarkable stuff. from the pair of them to extend these tyres. Not only that long since the start of the race, but still have such good pace. Yeah, you have to give it to him. That is some good stuff, as Tom finally gets his way through up the inside of his teammate, and after a couple of laps of waiting, manages to get it done and keeps the DRS to manage to solidify the move and keep it done towards turn 2. So his teammate doesn't quite have a chance to get it back, but Stein closing now on Stuart Little. So as soon as Stein gets through, I would imagine that's when Stuart Little is going to bite the bullet and come into the pit lane. But Cornet could be one to look out for this race win. 10 laps of this race left to go, or about 10.5 laps of this race left to go, I should say, as Exotic gets past Ted Wardo, but not all done and dusted yet. Maybe Ted Wardo can look back towards turn 2. He's not pushing the button, so not quite going to go for it. And yeah, I reckon if they pit now, then Softs could get to the end. Of course, they've got a lot lighter fuel, so that's a lot less strain on the tyres. And as long as they drive it sensibly and within the limits of the car, they might be able to get them to the end. Maybe a couple of laps extra, maybe lap 27, 28, and then pile it into the pit lane. That would be maybe a good idea. Ted Wardo still on the back. We've got Van Rocco on the back of Sam Spaniel, who's been someone that's been very, very difficult to get past this entire race. He's really fighting it neck and tail for every position he's fought for. So Van Rocco's got his work cut out for him if he wants to get himself up to P14. We've got Atom Kev getting past Ted Wardo, looking for the inside. He's going to go for it. Very late lunge to the inside. Not really an overtaken opportunity, and the Racing Point on the outside. But the Mercedes looking around the outside again on those fresher tyres. Is the Racing Point going to force him all the way out? The Mercedes keeps his foot and pushed off the track there. Bit of contact between the two, but Atom Kev is not letting off. Neither is Ted Wardo on these medium tyres. But looks like Atom Kev, a man who was looking good for a race win before a bottle, is now on a recovery drive and could be looking good for some points if he can gain that little bit more extra time. As Toss has managed to get himself into P7. Mr. Wu swerving to the inside there. That's going to cost him time and has caused him to lock up. Not going to be doing those medium tyres any good, as Cornet is into the pit lane. This is really spicing things up. Stein now catching onto the back of Stuart Little. But what tyres are Cornet going onto? This is going to be very, very interesting. Softs, surely those red mark softs are what we're looking out for. They are going to be the red mark soft tyres. Stuart Little in as well. We've now got Stein. So is it going to be an AlphaTauri 1-2? Is Cornet going to be able to close the gap? He's going to fall behind. Is it going to be Will and Tom? Yes, it is. So he's got to get past. Actually, no. Is it going to be Will as well? No, it's not. So he's come out in P3 and really open as well up. And what is the gap to the leader? It's 5 seconds to the leader. He's really done himself good here. Only 18 seconds lost in the pit lane. A great stop from the AlphaTauri guys. And he's got a long while left. Do not count Cornet out of this, guys. This is very, very spicy indeed. So we've got Cornet on the back of Tom. He needs to get his way through. Goes a little bit wide. That could be a warning coming his way. Stein has kept his way clean. That is going to be a very, very shaky exit from Toffen. To the inside goes Cornet. He needs to get this done now to have the clean track ahead of him. He's got it done. And Tom's going to have to settle for P3. And Cornet on an absolute mission now. He's going to be pushing the hell out of these soft tyres for the remaining 9 laps of this race, guys. This race has really livened up now. 4.3 seconds. Stein on some very old hards. Cornet on some very fresh soft tyres. This is really going to be interesting. He's already closed up 3/10. Already closed up a second on this lap. But remember, he's got that 6-second penalty to contend with. So it could be a battle, maybe, of time. 5/10 again in that middle sector. At the moment, an AlphaTauri 1-2, a Red Bull 1-2-3-4 as Will comes into the pit lane. Forgot he was still yet to pit. In fact, Will was still waiting to pit. So Kachow up into P4. He's driven a really good race as well. And Toss up into P5 again. Another driver who's done remarkably well to keep himself out of trouble's way. As Exotic is on the back of Cool Guy. DRS open. He's got his teammate for company right behind him though. Could be maybe a 3 abreast moment. Atom Kev coming onto the back of his teammate who wants to get past the Williams in front. They are going to be 3 abreast. Maybe Exotic around the outside. Atom Kev interested in pushing the Williams through. Get a good exit. Exotic around the outside to get himself into the top 10. But Cool Guy wants this point. So does Atom Kev. So he's going to look to try and follow someone through. It'll be his teammate that he follows through. Up the inside, around the outside of the Williams. Up into P11. And Cool Guy has just lost out to both Mercedes there. Atom Kev all over the back of his teammate now on these medium tyres. And if there's one thing he wants out of this race, it's going to be at least a point. If it can't be a win, it might as well be a point. And that's unfortunate for Adam Kev, because with Cornet's strategy and Stein as well, it could have been very interesting with those top three. Cornet is 16.5, fastest lap by an absolute mile. Closing onto his teammate. It's only a matter of time before he closes up. Laps 29 of 35, the last sixth of this race. Here comes Mr. Woot on the back of Toss, who's not really interested in defending this one too much. So the Renault up the inside, the McLaren lurking in the background, doesn't really know where to go. Toss trying it around the outside, but that's only going to open the door for the McLaren to drive himself up the inside. Side by side they go. Toss on the inside, the McLaren on the outside. Stuart Little on some very soft, very fresh mediums, I should say, but managed to get leave to dry around the outside. Does Toss, and Stuart Little on an absolute charge. All three running relatively low on energy recovery system there. Will getting through on Jurdy as well and getting himself into the top 8. So these fresh shots working for him, as well as Cornet, who's now within DRS range of his teammate. And that was incredibly quick that he managed to close that. So through the penultimate corner, 6 tenths is the gap. Stein with a little bit more ERS left to burn, so might be able to hang on in terms of straight line speed just about, but I'm going to say this is where Cornet is going to get it done. On to lap 30 of 35, he's going to be closing. Is it going to be enough? Doesn't look like it. As Stein manages to defend, but very late under brakes. You can see the closing speed of that AlphaTauri now with DRS towards turn number 2. He's going to be closing. Stein's maybe going to look to defend the inside, but is Cornet going to go all the way around the outside? He has a little look, tries and has a look with those fresh tyres. A little bit of a cheeky look there, but not quite going to go for it. He's going to be the outside. The two AlphaTauris go side by side through turn number 4. The softs around the outside, but the hard's still on the inside. It'll be the outside for turn number 4. Stein is not letting this go one bit, but he's just going to have to concede there, and Cornet into the race lead. He's now got 5 laps to open up a 6-second gap, and all Stein has to do is stay within that magical sweet zone of the penalties, and he'll take the win. When will Cornet's tyres drop off though? That is the question. If he makes more mistakes like that, his tyres are going to wear out and he might be susceptible to some more penalties. So it's not all over yet, folks. Cornet's tyres are going to degrade just as Stein's are, and those penalties could rack up for Cornet very quickly with 5 laps of this race remaining. Cornet needs to get his head down. Kachau could find himself onto the podium as well from pretty much towards the back of the grid. I believe. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, no. It's from P6. I have to give it to Kachau there. It was a pretty good qualifying result from him, and has a chance at the podium here after having a bit of a spin through turn 1 to recover this well is something you do like to see, as well as Adam Kev, who's managed to recover and on the back of his teammate for a single point. Has he got the run? Yes, he has. He's got a really good launch off turn 14 there, and he's going to pull to the inside. Is Exotic going to fight this one too hard? Doesn't look like it. Adam Kev into the top 10. 9 seconds to Jurdy. How many penalties does he have? Cool Guy has retired. He's given up, and that is another retirement in the pit lane. 3 retirements in this race, and that is a shame for Cool Guy. He was driving really well, so it's a shame to see him retire. But if he feels he doesn't want to carry on, that is completely fair. But 6 seconds for Jurdy, so if Adam Kev can close a couple of seconds without picking up a penalty, he'll find himself into the top 9, which would be pretty good. And Stein has really kept Cornet honest. He's not let him go out of his sight, so doing a really good job in terms of keeping him there. And as Cornet's tyres slowly start to degrade, they're gonna start degrading a little bit more, a little bit faster as the softer rubber than the hard tyres. So Stein might be able to bring this back. 4 more seconds that Cornet needs, and it's looking incredibly unlikely. Another 2 tenths to the middle sector, so Cornet still has the pace, but has he got enough pace? Stein driving with absolute precision to keep his teammate in sights, though you have to really give it to him. Halfway is Cornet, well, nearly halfway, 5/10 the halfway, 2.5 seconds out of the 6 he needs to pull to win this race, which from the back of the grid, a great strategy from Cornet. Even for him to be in the lead of the race right now is remarkable. So he has really driven well. When we doubted his pace towards the start, we did knock him that he wasn't able to get through that midfield pack, but it's definitely paid off once he got on that clear edge, just managed to open up, gain some confidence in himself and get his way, stretch his wings and fly away into the distance like he did do, and he has been doing. Lap 33 of 35, he needs an extra 3.3 seconds to win this race. So Stein driving incredibly well. But potentially Stein could still pick himself up a penalty, which would close the gap, and Cornet would be in a very, very good position to win this race if Stein picked up a penalty right now. Kachau on the back of Tom Goprof as well. In terms of penalties, Kachau will win this race, win the podium shootout. As for keeping it clean, as we come on to the penultimate lap, Kev picks himself up a 3-second time penalty, so he's going to have to settle for P10 in this race. With a single point, I'm not sure he's going to be complaining after a very, very hefty spin halfway through this Grand Prix, and to have taken those tyres as long as he has is something remarkable. You have to give him credit for. Tom running on absolutely nothing at the moment, and Kachau really sieging him out, making him waste all that energy, and I'm sure he's going to be blitzing past at any time soon. As soon as he pushes that button, he's going to be pretty much gone. But Will on the back of Toss, who is on course to score his first points of the season so long as he gets it to the end, and I'm sure he's not going to be interested in fighting Will too hard, considering Will is on those soft tyres, as is Cornet, who has now managed to open the gap up to 3.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds is needed if he wants to win this race. 2.4, maybe 2.3. It's really hammer time for these last couple of laps. It's incredibly close, incredibly tense. And still either one could come out on top, and AlphaTauri 1-2. That's remarkable stuff for the Constructor Championship. Now coming up to 2 seconds, coming on to the final lap between the two AlphaTauris. He needs an incredible final lap. He needs time to make a mistake, something to happen. He needs a miracle, basically, to win this race. As Will wants to get past Toss, but again, those softs are going to start dying off. Maybe to around about the same level that those hards are feeling. So Toss might be able to hang on though. He's got 14 more corners left to negotiate. Cornet rounding off sector 1, hasn't been able to extend that gap. Here comes Will though, he is closing on Toss. He's going to look to the inside, he's going to brake as late as he can down the inside. Has he managed to get it stopped? Yes he has, but Toss might be able to come right back at him though in the slipstream with some ERS. Isn't quite going to be enough though, so Toss going to have to sit behind, and with Will not having a penalty, it would be a P8 regardless. But I'm sure Toss is just happy to be in the points, and after got to the end of the race, Stein has managed to open the gap up to 4 seconds, and he is slowly chipping away. Toss with another penalty opens it back up to 6 seconds, but has Stein done enough as Cornet rounds the penultimate corner from the back of the grid to a net race win? And a remarkable strategy. Cornet comes across the line to take the win on track for the Hungarian Grand Prix, but his teammate Stein is just going to hang on to take the win, but Cornet a P2 finish. Absolutely remarkable stuff as Tom is going to round the final corner. He's going to take P3, but Kachau is going to snatch that harshly off him with the penalty situation. And Stuart Little now crossing the line a few seconds later to round off the top 5. Here comes Mr. Wu. Is he going to get the 5th place? Yes, he is, after keeping it clean. So penalties, a massive factor. Here comes Will through the final corner. The other Red Bull to take P7, and Toss in P8. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely ecstatic now. He's scored some points this season, and that is a great way to finish round 8 in the Hungaroring. Here comes Jody across the line. Kev looked good for a race win across the line. It's only going to be P10. Might not even be that. No, it is going to be P10. The lone point for Kev. after someone who looks so good, so consistent, so quick to take the race win. It's only P10, but damage limitation, he done incredibly well, and what a race that was in Hungary. But a very deserved 1-2 for AlphaTauri. Stein at the pole sitter managed to convert, but it was not an easy story at all. Cornet very much was the quicker man and managed to do it from the back of the grid. Kachow keeping it clean with penalties, managed to take off the final podium place. But after 35 very intense laps, that was the round number 8. Stein takes the win ahead of Cornet in P2. Kachow rounds off the top 3 with Tom in P4. Mr. Witt rounding off the top 5 with Stuart Little in P6. Will in P7. Toss P8 with Jardy and Atomkev rounding off the top 10. Ted Wardo in P11. Van Rocco in P12. Detalim in P13. Exotic in P14. Sam Spaniel P15. And the retirees, Cool Guy, Mark of Kenya, and Ver not being able to finish this race. But that was round 8, ladies and gentlemen. That was an absolutely banger of a race up and down the field. Incredible battles, and it was a pleasure from my part to talk you through it. But that is going to round it off, guys. We'll see you next Saturday for round number 9. I can't wait, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.